Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Mystery Matt MO, allegedly.
Fuck me. Just give it a sec to warm up.
My bad.
Woo!
Oh,
Hot mic.
Welcome to Shit Show Saturday.
This is our second episode we're recording today, and I'm pretty much in the bag.
You weren't supposed to tell people.
Oh, yeah, shit.
We're drinking water tonight. We're working on our fitness.
Mom juice.
Oh, God.
I'm actually drinking water.
I'm actually not. I'm drinking mom juice. Anyways.
Can I talk about my cup and how it's relevant?
Yes.
So Sarah bought me this cup, and it says, "I'd shank a bitch for you right in the kidney," and I figured it was very, very appropriate for true crime podcasts.
For true friendship, too.
Yes.
All right. So.
And you probably know where a kidney's located, too.
Yeah, they're back here.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. We'll pencil.
There's two of them.
Yep.
Yeah. So, as you might see, we're wearing the same thing we did on the last episode, but we did change underpants. And that's only funny if you watched the last episode.
Yeah, so watch that one.
Yeah, anyway, so this one's kind of gruesome.
We're kind of stacking the deck with this one.
We are stacking the deck with this one.
I'm excited.
It's a Canadian serial killer.
Ooh.
Yeah.
You don't tell me much. So, like,
I don't.
I'm sitting here listening, learning a whole crapload of things.
Even last episode with the Black Dahlia, I resisted the urge to look into things. I only looked into a little bit to write the description for the YouTube channel. But I learned a lot.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
Yeah, I did. All 20 minutes ago or 30 minutes ago. Anyways.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this one, Clifford Olson Jr. was known as the Beast of British Columbia.
Ooh.
Yeah. So, Clifford Robert Olson Jr. murdered and viciously assaulted at least 11 children.
Picture? What? Anything?
You could put up the first one, 001. He was allegedly suspected of 10,000 property crimes, 1,200 SAs, and 50 murders. His mother was Leona, and she was not married to Clifford's father at the time of his birth. His father, Clifford Olson Sr., was in the Canadian military. Jr. was born on January 1st, 1940 in British Columbia, and he had a stomach blockage at birth.
He is a
Capricorn.
Mm-hmm.
Just like you.
Yes.
Right. Anyways. So Leona and Sr. married when he returned from World War II in 1943. And they had 3 more children, 2 more sons and 1 daughter. I don't have their names, and I didn't look them up, so. Also, protect the people. Mm-hmm. Protect them. Anyways. Sr. worked as a milkman, and Leona worked in a fish cannery. And allegedly at the age of 4, and a 4-year-old cousin of Clifford's, they were made to strip naked by a teenage uncle and let him lie on top of them in what was referred to as a game. Yeah. So we're looking at a very much of a nurture situation here.
Yes.
As a student, he was described as very polite, but lacked discipline. He was friendly. He did pretty much whatever he wanted to, but he was also a bully who never could win.
The murderers.
Yeah, Clifford Jr., yeah. His life of crime began at the young age of 5, where he started stealing constantly. And at age 6, he stole $200, which would be about $3,000 today, from an uncle. I hope it's the one that made him play the game. He was never punished for this. Instead, his mom said that the worst thing that happened was that he got caught. And not to steal from family. That was his punishment. That was it. There was nothing.
Okay, I can't look at this scumbag anymore.
Yeah, he's a scumbag, right?
Oh, God, what an evil...
We should have used him for nature versus nurture. My God, there's like both in here so far.
I didn't really want to dive into this one at that point, you know. He would also switch price tags in stores, a switcheroo. So what he would do, he would go into a store, take a price tag off something that was really cheap, and switch it with an item that was more expensive, and get the more expensive item for cheaper. So he was
smart.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I guess. Yeah. I mean that is criminal.
You can see where the mind being molded.
Yes. Yeah, very much so. So Clifford Sr. would often take his son with him on his milk runs. And in the milk truck there would be a jar of money where when Clifford Sr. would collect the milk money out of the milk boxes, which I'll explain what milk boxes are for the younger folk, the youths. the customers would just leave the money there and he would put it in the jar. So a milk box, basically, my grandparents had one in their house. My grandma, my stepmonster.
My grandparents had one. My mom's parents.
So what it is, a milk box, you don't see houses with them anymore, obviously. It's like a little door. There's a space where you would put your milk bottles, and then there'd be another door on the inside. And they would just put their empties there. Milk guy would come, pick the empties up and the money, and leave fresh milk. And then, so yeah, it was kind of neat. So anyways,
really neat.
It was neat, and I think we should bring it back because glass bottles, recycling, reduced plastic.
So my best friend has one in her house, and I've left goodies in there before during COVID.
Oh, that's smart, yeah. COVID boxes.
Yeah.
Or sick boxes or something.
I've done that too.
So this shows you how smart Clifford Olson Jr. was. So Jr. saw this as an opportunity. And he would steal from the jar in his dad's truck. But then he would start getting up earlier and going, before his dad would even start his route, would go to the houses, collect the money, steal it, basically. And then he would go on to other milkmen's routes and do the same thing. Steal the money before the milkman got there. So, yeah.
And the milkman went early.
And the milkmen were very early. So Clifford Olson, at a young age, I don't know how old he was smart enough to do this. This was like an enterprise for him. It was crazy. But he also recruited a smaller friend who would go with him to these houses later in the day, send the smaller friend through the milk box, unlock the door, and they'd go in and steal any money they could find. So he started early. So, yeah.
Milk boxes aren't very big.
Oh, I could fit through them when I was little. Like, I was literally a stick figure when I was little.
Yeah, because they're big enough to hold the height of the milk.
It'd fit a kid.
That's true, it would fit a kid.
Yeah, they were kids. They were children. Like,
okay, yeah. So
probably not even 10, right?
Okay. Oh, really?
Yeah, probably not even 10. But if you remember when I was 10, I was fucking skinny as hell.
No, I mean, like, I didn't realize he was doing this at, like...
He started at age 5. So he was doing this very early on. Plus, he himself was relatively a small child. So, at age 10, he finally developed his attraction, or he discovered the attraction to the opposite sex, and would force girls to show their private parts to him at knife point.
Oh.
Well, that's kind.
That's how you get the chicks.
Absolutely. That's how we want to be wooed.
So he often felt...
Knife point, please.
Yeah. Yeah. So he often felt superior to others, always starting shit with other kids, but because he was so small, he couldn't win a fight. So he began taking boxing, and he was actually pretty good at it. He was his trainer and stuff would tell his dad, listen, your son's got a lot of talent in the ring. He might be able to go far with this. Olson didn't really go far. He ended up kind of quitting or just getting lazy because he got cocky. Oh, I'm good at this? Okay, right? Yeah, he didn't go far with it.
We're still talking about El Douchebag.
Yes.
Stop leaning that way.
Sorry. Allegedly, he would play the same game his uncle played with him with his sister and her friends.
Oh.
The abused either become an abuser or they become a protector.
Yes.
I'm leaving.
No, you can't because you're doing the pictures.
It's either or. You either become an abuser or you become a protector.
There's a reason why I am talking about his early life as his childhood and stuff, because it pretty much shapes who he becomes. He repeated the 7th grade twice, but after failing the second time, he dropped out of school and he got a job at a racetrack. Earlier, he would actually go to that racetrack and fleece the gamblers who were betting on the horses and take their money and stuff. So he got a job there anyways. And he was good at the jobs that he was given. I guess he would work various jobs at this racetrack, but he would get fired after forging a check for $400 in his boss's name.
Well, that'll do it.
Police were not notified. Let's have more.
Do we take a drink every time you make a...
Yeah, I don't have enough.
I'm not even sure if you can do that on YouTube, so...
I'm just drinking juice. So his first arrest came in 1957 after breaking into a furniture store. He was charged with 17 offenses, but only convicted of 1 and served only 9 months in the New Haven Borstal Institute. 4 months into his sentence, he and 2 other boys busted out and stole a boat. Okay. So his father convinced him to turn himself in, where he then pleaded guilty to 17 charges and sentenced to 2 more years in Ocala prison. It was here that he had his first homosexual encounter after participating in a gang R-word, and then began a relationship with the victim of the encounter. This continued constantly, him going in prison, breaking out, or him going to prison, getting released, and then going back in really quick. So he would go back in and out. His sentence would be always have more tacked onto it. He was also a snitch. He would often snitch on his fellow inmates to garner shorter sentences or favors within the prison system. One person that he did was Gary Marcoux. So Gary Marcoux was a serial arborist. That sounds weird to say, but it is.
Oh, I thought you said arborist, and I
no,
was trying.
He cuts down trees?
I was trying to like.
Serial rapist.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now I understand.
Gary Marcoux was he was at the prison where Olson was incarcerated, and I guess he got Marcoux drunk on prison wine one night and talked him into writing down an entire confession of all of his crimes, which then Olson took to the warden and bargained to 4 times shaved off of his sentence. This guy's not stupid.
No.
We can give him that. He's not stupid.
No.
He's just got...
Manipulative.
He lacks... Yes, and he lacks impulse control. In 1961, while he was briefly out, he broke into the Canadian Legion where he stole watches. When his father found out, Clifford Sr. took the watches and sold them and kept the money for himself. His father also was busted for running a bingo scam and was sentenced for 6 months.
Sounds like he comes from a great family.
Right?
They're like stand-up citizens.
Yeah. Clifford Jr. also met a 17-year-old girl that same year, got her pregnant, and then the baby was taken away. One of his attempted escapes was orchestrated by Olson pretending he had blood in his urine and was taken to the hospital. They left him uncuffed and alone, and he just casually strolled out of the hospital. He also met and traveled with a 14-year-old boy. They picked up a woman, and Olson slept with them both. Stole from the elderly, including a crime spree against elderly people in the United States. Excuse me. He was then paroled again in 1977, but this only lasted 2 months before he was taken back to prison. He was released in January of 78 after becoming a Christian and was given a place to stay and a job by a Christian family again. That did not last long either when he tried to M-word a 12-year-old girl at a motel, and then her brother tossed him out through a glass window. So we're already seeing we're already seeing the devious side of him coming out more and more, right? So then Olson fled at one point to Newfoundland, where he met a single mother of a 7-year-old girl. Olson tried to groom the girl and allegedly was successful. He took the girl and her friend to the circus and bought them whatever they wanted, fed them every food they wanted as well, and then he took them to a hotel room where he took CSAM photos of them and M-worded them. He then disappeared. He was caught in Alberta and did 2 years until he was released in 1980. It's then after that release that he meets Joan Berryman and was at first using her for her divorce settlement, but then he got her pregnant and stayed with her, and I think basically her and the baby were the only 2 people he gave 2 shits about, aside from himself, if that is even possible. So now we go to the timeline. So Matt, you want to put up picture number 2.
That's right over your face, so you don't know. You can read if you want to. I was looking at you.
Okay, great. November 7th, 1980, 12-year-old Christine Weller was living in a motel with her family. She was said to have been physically abused at times by her father. The early evenings of the 7th, she was with a friend and needed to get back to her family in time for dinner. Her friend lent her his bicycle. Now, I have conflicting stories here. One that said that she had dinner with her family and then wanting to ride the bike more, so she went with her father to the bar, and he told her to go back home after they arrived, and she never made it home. The other was that she didn't make it home for dinner, so I cannot find anything that actually corroborates either of these. So I found 2 of each, basically, so take that with a grain of salt. At this time, Joan and Clifford were having issues. He was abusing her, and on this night she had left him, which would be temporarily, and she was 4 months pregnant at this time. Christine just happened to ride her bike past the apartment building Clifford and Joan lived in when he approached her, asking if she knew anyone interested in a cleaning job, which he would pay a whopping $10 an hour, which was a lot in 1980, as the minimum wage was $3.10 an hour. Christine jumped at the opportunity, and Olson took her, plied her with alcohol, and brutally, inappropriately assaulted and murdered her. He then disposed of her belongings and wiped his car clean and walked to the motel because he stupidly got his car stuck in the mud. Not all criminals are geniuses. So she was not reported missing for an entire week. And when she was listed as a runaway until the bike was found. And on Christmas Day, a man who was out for a walk discovered her body. You can put up picture number 3. On April 16th, 1981, his son was just born. Colleen Dagnault, a 13-year-old, went missing from a bus stop. Olson used the same ruse on her as he did with Christine. He plied her with alcohol, took her to a forested area, and did the same thing to her as he did to Christine. Colleen was listed as missing 3 days after, and was also listed as a runaway until her clothing was found. Her skeletal remains would be found near where her clothing were found on September 17th, 1981. Now you can go to the next photo. Number 4, yeah. On April 22nd, 1981, Daryn Johnsrud was 16 and visiting his mother in Vancouver when he went missing from a drugstore while running an errand for his mother. He was considered an easygoing and reliable teenager. Olson got him in the car, gave him alcohol, took him to a secluded area where he was SA'd and bludgeoned to death with a hammer. His body was found May 2nd, 1981 at the bottom of a rock embankment. And also during this time, which is common, is that the offender or the unsub would have different behaviors afterwards. And Olson's just happened to get more violent with Joan during this time. On May 14th, 1981, it was the night before the wedding, so Joan goes out with friends and Clifford decided to stay home and take care of any of the kids. So, anyways, he allegedly sent the older kids to the store and assaulted a 5-year-old girl. He, of course, denied this and no charges were ever brought. Picture number 5. May 19th, 1981, Sandra Wolfsteiner was 16 and living with her sister in Langley, British Columbia. She had spent the day in Surrey when Olson picked her up while she was hitchhiking. He drugged her, R-worded her multiple times, beat her over the head, and she was also listed as a runaway. Now we're seeing a pattern here with law enforcement, which is horrible. Yes.
He doesn't discriminate between genders.
No.
No, because if you remember correctly, he had a homosexual experience in prison, right? So he don't care. But we do obviously see a preference in age group. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's the worst part. Doesn't get any better.
No, and he preys on the vulnerable.
Yes, he does. So 2 young women he allegedly drugged and R-worded over the next few months, but allowed them to survive. I guess one went to the police. They considered her slow and not a good witness. So nothing was done.
Who's this?
We don't know. We don't have names for these 2 people. So then you go to number 7.
I have 6. Number 6.
Oh, yes, number 6. Sorry, here, right.
What's
Correct.
the name?
Ada Court.
Yeah.
13-year-old Ada Court went missing rather quickly. That's all the information I have. I think I might actually have more in here. Day did I say that was on? I think I actually go on more about Ada Court. So she was reported missing rather quickly. Yeah, I don't have much on here. I think she comes back into play later. So then you want to go to the next one.
Number 7?
Yeah. 9-year-old, on July 2nd, 9-year-old Simon Purtington went missing. Simon's case was actually the one that police got, and got the police's attention as well as the media. He came from a good family who immigrated from England, and he was taken after riding his bicycle to a friend's house, which he never made it to his friend's. On July 9th, picture number 8, Judy Kosma was 19 when Olson picked her up along with a young male friend named Randy. They drove around together before Olson dropped off Randy and then took Kosma to a secluded area. Well, you can guess what happened there. Her body was found on July 25th at Weaver Lake. It was noted that her green address book was missing. On July 10th, Clifford, Joan, and Baby went on vacation to California. On July 15th, law enforcement were holding a conference where they discussed unsolved cases. Olson's name came up in connection to the Ada Court case because at the time of her disappearance, She had been babysitting for her brother who lived in the same apartment complex as Olson's. And the location and Olson's criminal history raised suspicions amongst law enforcement. So that was when the RCMP decided that they would put Olson under part-time surveillance. The reason why it was part-time was because there was a lot of cutbacks, understaffing, a lot of controversy and shit. But he had no idea that he was under surveillance, and he got lucky and was never noticed while going about his dirty deeds. So, next picture, Matt, is number 9, I believe.
Yeah.
Raymond King Jr. on July 23rd, he was 15, and he was out looking for a job when he ran into Olson. Olson offered him a job, much like he did with the others, and took him out to Weaver Lake. He was reported missing by his father, but like the others, he was listed as a runaway. Number 10. On July 25th, Siegram Arnd was an 18-year-old student from Germany visiting Vancouver when she went missing. No one even knew she was missing until Olson was apprehended. Number 11. July 27th, 15-year-old Terri-Lynn Carson went missing. She was sodomized, inappropriately assaulted, and had a screwdriver driven into her head with a hammer. She drowned in a ditch. Because he stood on her back.
That escalated.
I told you it gets worse. But we're almost done. So picture number 12 is coming up shortly. Hang on.
12?
Yeah, during her murder.
Now?
Yeah, you can put it up now.
Okay.
During her murder, RCMP was beginning to set up their surveillance around Olson's apartment. Terri-Lynn was also listed as a runaway. On July 30th, Lousie Chartrand went missing, and she was 17. The Olsons took a family trip to Alberta, and the police couldn't find him. Always good to know, right? On August 5th, a hiker discovers Raymond King Jr.'s body, and on August 6th, the Olsons returned from their trip, and the next day he was under 24-hour surveillance. A little too late if you ask me. On August 12th, Olson took a ferry over to Vancouver Island where he picked up two female hitchhikers, and police were following him, and when he turned off the road into a secluded area, they arrested him, which prevented 2 more possible victims, which Olson later confirmed that he had intended to R-word and murder the 2 women. So, obviously, he's going to deny everything at the time of his arrest, and he did. Police found Judy Kosma's green address book in Olson's car. Lucy!
Just ignore it.
It's hard. His friend Randy placed Kosma with Olson during the time of her disappearance and alone with the victim after he was dropped off. Olson manipulated his arrest and confession for conditions. He wanted to make sure that his family was set up. Plus, he doesn't do anything for free. We've learned that. He does nothing for free. He attempted to bargain with police. The first attempt was to tell them everything if he could be placed in a mental institute. That was a no-go. The second attempt was... What? You want to add to that?
No psych ward for you.
No psych ward for you.
No, do not collect.
$100.
I was going to say, do not collect the lorazepam.
The second attempt, that he would tell them everything and where the bodies were if they agreed to put $100,000 in a trust for his wife and son. That's $10,000 per body, one for free. This has become known as the cash for bodies deal. British Columbia Attorney General Alan Williams didn't agree to this deal right away. He had to weigh the pros and cons, and ended up coming to the conclusion that it was important for the families of the missing and murdered children to know what happened. They only had 4 bodies. They needed more. So William obviously did not want this deal to become public, and relentlessly he agreed to the deal. So the cash for bodies was set up, and Olson was paid $100,000. Olson provided full and very detailed confessions and took law enforcement to the body sites for the recovery of the rest of his victims. On January 11th, 1982, you can put up number 14 for briefness if you want to.
13?
Oh, did you not put up 13? Louise?
13 is the guy.
Oh, yeah, just put up Olson, whatever.
And then 14 you said?
That should be Olson, isn't it?
No, 13 is Olson.
14 is everybody.
Oh, 13, yeah, sorry.
It's just the way that the lines are looking.
You can put that up briefly then. Where's I at? Okay. So on January 11th, 1982, Olson pleaded guilty to all of his charges and received 11 concurrent sentences of 25 to life. And what concurrent means is that all 11 sentences will be served at the exact same time. Or if they were consecutively, he would do 25 years for one, another 25 for another. Just for people who don't know that. So yeah, I think he should have done them consecutively, but it didn't really matter.
Agreed.
But Canada's justice system is fucked. We learned that with the Bernardo Homolka case.
Yep.
But Olson wasn't done yet. He tried to set up another cash for bodies deal, but this time he offered a discount. $5,000 per body.
2 for 1?
Right?
Sorry.
So.
Oh,
police
a twofer.
Yeah, and police and the attorney general are like, no, he wasn't going to get this. Like, this was, they were good. They already had him.
Oh my god.
He was in jail for life. He wasn't going anywhere, right? In 1997, Olson tried to use a loophole and file for early parole based on the faint hope clause under the criminal code. Now, this is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. In Canada, I haven't looked into it. I hope they got rid of this because this is stupid. So this code allows prisoners to seek early parole after serving 15 years of their sentence.
What's it called?
Faint hope clause under the criminal code.
What is it for? How are they able to do that?
I don't know, because if you get 25 to life, you should be up for parole until 25 years.
Sorry, faint
Hope clause.
Faint hope clause.
So apparently this code allows them.
Allows prisoners. So it says the faint hope clause is a section of the Canadian Criminal Code that allows prisoners to apply for parole after serving 15 years of life sentence. This clause was added in 1976 to encourage rehabilitation and reduce risk of reoffending.
There's no such thing as rehabilitation for people like this.
But it has to be a unanimous jury decision.
Yeah.
Is required to reduce the parole. Yeah.
Anyways, his application was denied, as would every parole attempt after that. Families would be tortured by Olson after he was incarcerated because he would write them, call them, and talk in great detail about what he did to their families. He would talk to reporters, anybody. He wanted the publicity. He wanted to be noticed. And he even was trying to get his manuscript printed out and sold like a book because he wanted the attention. And everything in there was very detailed, apparently. This never happened, thankfully. We don't have the Son of Sam law here.
What's that again?
So the Son of Sam law was when David Berkowitz, who was a serial killer in New York City back in the 70s, 80s, he killed a bunch of people, and then he tried to profit off of it by writing a book. And instead of profiting off of it, they made this law so that serial killers cannot profit off of their crimes. So if they wrote a book, that money, they wouldn't get any of it. It would go be distributed against the victims' families, I guess.
I think you've talked about this.
I might have, but it might have been in a podcast. So it's not hurt. It doesn't hurt to bring it back up. Right? So, huh? Oh, okay. So the Cash for Bodies deal did go public, and with good reason. The public was outraged, and a lot of the families were outraged.
Yeah.
7 of the families actually sued Clifford Olson, Joan Olson, Olson's lawyer Robert Chase, and the overseeing lawyer of this horrific deal. Now, Canada has a history of making the deal with the devil, because they did that again later on, years later, with Karla Homolka, the sweetheart deal. Now she's out.
And a social worker, apparently.
Anyways, yeah. So Joan's legal team, obviously she would find reason to stall them, and I think it took a couple years, but in the end, the families won their case, and Joan was ordered to return the money back, plus court and legal fees, in December of 1984. However, 2 years later, Joan appealed the decision, and on March 11th, this decision was returned in Joan's favor. Olson was incarcerated at St. Anne des Plaines. Is that how you say it in French? St. Anne's des Plaines?
I'd have to see it.
What does it look like?
St. Anne's des Plaines.
Des Plaines.
Des Plaines in Quebec in a Supermax Prisms special handling unit. He also scored 38 out of 40 on a psychopathy checklist. Ooh, surprise. I'm surprised he didn't get perfect.
The only test you should have gotten perfect.
Good job, champ. You did it.
I kind of want to take it just to see where I fit. 'Cause I don't know if 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 I fit Shut up, Matthew. On September 30th, 2011, Clifford Olson died of cancer at the age of 71 in Laval, Quebec hospital.
Good, fuck him.
Yeah, exactly. So, I think it's important for us to establish that this guy was definitely a monster.
Yes.
He
was also made to be one.
I hope it hurt.
Yeah, he was. And it was definitely... You can put up the murder board. I don't know if you have one. While we do some discussion. This damn tape on my glasses took half my hair out. Yeah, he was a special kind of monster. Because even after, he even confessed, or tried to confess, or take credit for, I think it's more like take credit for, some of the Green River Killer's murders. Because before that, the Green River Killer wasn't caught yet. He was trying to take some credit for some of those murders. But he could never prove he was down there. You know what I mean? And he would keep poking his nose in different situations or different murders and stuff like that throughout the years. He probably, no doubt, he's basically the Ted Bundy of Canada.
Yeah.
You know, because he's brutal. And it's safe to say he's a worse pedophile than maybe even Bernardo.
That was, wow.
I guess when Canada we may have very little serial killers, but when we do, we go big.
Should we be proud of that?
No. And maybe we have more serial killers that we're not aware of because we're smart. Canadians are smart. Unless you're from Newfoundland. Don't come for me. You know what I mean? Like, there's got to be more serial killers in Canada than what we are aware of.
In a way, he didn't have a fighting chance, to be quite honest.
No.
He didn't have a fighting chance. Like, he was groomed to be who
he
was. Never with the only accountability was the justice system. There was no accountability taught at home, and then in the justice system when he was in jail, he would just manipulate his way and get out.
Yeah.
And like, so there's no accountability there either.
It's so bad that, I mean, it's so sad that it took at least 11 victims.
Yes.
For them to finally say, oh, you're a manipulative motherfucker.
Right?
You know, like, you shouldn't have been out. Like, if they had just kept him in for all these crimes that he did, even the small ones, we wouldn't have 11 children.
No, but in Canada, we rehabilitate.
But there's no such thing as rehabilitation.
Not when you're born into it like that, and when you're, like, raised into it.
If a husband kills his wife, and it's a one-off situation, maybe. But when you have such a history, to look at a horse, you got to look at its track record, right?
Yes. So I have worked with young offenders early in my career. I came across one, and he had done quite the crime. But he was very, like, he was...
I can't believe you wear thongs.
What?
Stay on track. Oh my God.
Sorry.
So he wanted to be better.
Mm-hmm.
He knew what he did was wrong. He understood why he did it. He understood all of it. He was taking accountability for it. Luckily enough, he was a minor, and he was going to be able to finish his time and be, you know, and move on to, hopefully he did great things. Mm-hmm. Because he was like, it was one of those one-off, drunk, high.
Although that's not an excuse.
It's not an excuse, but it was, you mix that with anger and like teenage stupidity, and it was like the perfect storm, right? And so I can see what you're saying.
Yeah.
But you can't rehabilitate that. You need to like hit him over the head with a frying pan and like reset the default settings.
What also bothers me is the whole, when you go to like the DCFS or Children's Aid and stuff, and they're really into the reunification.
Yes.
And they always reunify children with the wrong parents. Like, you take the ones out of the extreme abusive home for a reason, because the parents are on drugs and they're abusive and they're not paying attention or they're whatever. And you put them in a good foster parent home who want to adopt them, who are told that they can go up for adoption. You have them for 2 or 3 years, and then all of a sudden they're ripped away from this good home, safe place, and put back in with their parent because they believe in reunification, and next thing you know, they're dead. You know how many times that happens? A lot. And I'm actually getting sick of hearing stories about this happening. This might be actually an episode coming up. Not for a while. But it just happened again. Why? Reunification and rehabilitation only works if the participants are willing and, like you said, taking accountability. But even Ed Kemper, who took accountability for his 10 crimes, says, do not let me out. I'm afraid I might do it again.
Yeah. You need to also to realize that drug addiction is considered a disease.
Oh, I do.
Which it is. And so that's where the parents get clean and the kids go back. And then
but when it's coupled with abuse, though.
Yeah.
There's signs of abuse when they're taken out of the home at the beginning, as well as neglect. Neglect is abuse.
Mm-hmm.
So if there's signs of abuse of any kind, drugs related or not, they should not be put back into that home ever. And if they are, DCFS or Children's Aid or whatever the hell is looking after them, should get off their asses and do weekly checks, weekly drug tests or monthly drug tests.
They have to call before they go.
They shouldn't have to.
I know, but
surprise visits.
It's human rights.
Fuck it. Not when you take the right or affect the right of some other person, you should have no rights.
Agreed.
Mm-hmm.
But when you know somebody's coming,
you put a little makeup on the bruises and nobody sees a thing.
Yep. Smile, we're a happy family.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yay.
Right? That's the thing. It's like...
We're way off topic, but...
We are,
but it's just... You take somebody like Clifford Olson, you take somebody like Paul Bernard, you take somebody like Carl Homolka, who's oddly enough, as far as we know, has kept her nose clean. There's no such thing as rehabilitation for those people. You can't rehabilitate a psychopath.
No.
You can't rehabilitate a sociopath either.
It's a personality disorder, and as far as I understand, it's very difficult to medicate for a personality disorder. You can only medicate for the, I guess you call them side effects, like anxiety, mood disorder part. Like, you can't really medicate for a personality disorder.
No, you can't medicate for narcissistic personality disorder.
Sociopathic is a personality.
Yes, exactly. And you could probably, you can medicate for bipolar, which might be a side effect of the psychopathic personality disorder. Going manic and killing people, right? Or whatever. It might be a part of that psychopathy.
Yeah, but you
can medicate that.
Yeah.
But you can't medicate the psychopathy.
No, it's talk therapy, and it's years and years and years and years and years of talk therapy. That's about all they're looking
And what have we learned from a lot of these serial killers who are psychopaths and sexual sadists and sociopaths?
Manipulative as fuck.
And you can't believe a word they say.
No.
Just I talk a big game about Ed Kemper saying he can take accountability, he can say all this stuff. Do I believe him? I want to, but I'm not stupid.
But nobody is going to change unless they want to.
Yeah.
And if you don't see the error of your ways, and you don't...
Yeah.
I'm just going to say...
I can see the error of my ways. Do I mean it? I don't know. Right?
Uh-huh.
So, yeah. Can you run that video or no?
No, I'm not worrying about it.
Okay. Just put the picture up of the victims to close it out. But yeah, anyway, so... Trying to keep focus. I mean, when you have a pile of victims of more than a few, when you have 11 or more,
it's opportunistic too.
It's so hard to keep the focus on them, which is why the focus was on Olson, and I hate that. But at least he's dead, so you can't tell. He's not getting that pride from us. But just keep the victims of him in mind first and foremost, They're what matters. It's always the victim that matters in these situations. It's not the person who did it. Learning about them, there's a reason for it. And the reason that I talked about Clifford Olson is because I wanted you to see this evolving of his personality from a thief at the age of 5 to already having sexual deviancy at as early as age 10, but also started way back at age 4 with his uncle, and seeing that progression, and it's behavior, and I had to cut a lot out because there was a lot of stuff, like a lot. Especially with his arrest and going in and out and stuff. I had to really condense that. But first and foremost, though, it's the victims that matter in these cases. And yes, we will talk about other serial killers moving forward. But in the end, it's always the victims.
Mm-hmm.
So.
I think his parents should also be hung for his crimes.
I'm sure they're long dead by now, but...
They were the ones that made it.
Yeah.
We need better chairs, by the way.
Yeah, these hurt my butt.
Yeah, my butt's numb.
Yeah.
I thought I'd share.
Something snoring down there.
You done?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
All right, so, yeah. Peace out, and have a good March break.
Like, share, subscribe.
Obviously, like, share, and subscribe. Obviously. I didn't say that in the last one. I should have. Yeah, as of right now, I can't remember what's coming up next, so.
Stay tuned.
Blame it on the juice. Yeah, stay tuned.